Hello there and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by, and if you are a subscriber, thank you so much for coming back, being part of this beauty community and hanging out with me. So we are talking primer and foundation today. Now if you've been here before, you may remember a review I did on the e.l.f. Putty Primer. I want to say it might have been about 6 months ago. I'll link it up at the top if you want to check it out. But I talked about how I had tried the Tatcha Silk Canvas, knowing that it has such a following. So many people love it, and it didn't quite work for me. But I wanted to try it again because I saw a tutorial from a Tatcha brand rep on Instagram, and I realized that I was not using it correctly. And I also tried it in like a deluxe sample size. So there's a scooper that comes with a larger version that I'll show you in just a little bit, and that helps you know how much you should be using. So I figured, I used it wrong and I used too much. So let me just try this again. So we're trying the Tatcha Silk Canvas Primer. And also, if you've been here before, you know how much I loved that Clinique Beyond Perfecting Foundation. Kind of put my eyes back onto the Clinique map. And so Clinique dropped a new foundation. It's a serum foundation. And we're going to try that out too. I think that I will probably love it, given how surprised I was by the love that I had for the Beyond Perfecting formula. So yeah, let's just get right on into the primer and the foundation. So what's really cool about the Tatcha Silk Canvas is that it actually comes with like a little informational booklet that has just, well, it's not really a booklet. It's more of just like a little pamphlet. Well, you can see what it is. So it has a little bit more about the formula and how the silk canvas came to be, and then it also has the instructions, which I feel like are necessary. And it comes with a little scoop. So this is the little scoop piece that you get with the primer, and this line here on the scoop shows you where you should fill it up to so that you're using the correct amount of the product. So basically what you need to do is glide the scoop across the surface of the primer until you get to the line. Then you want to take it off of the scoop and warm it up in between your fingertips, and then press it into the skin in upward strokes, and then let it sit there for, I don't know, maybe like 20-30 seconds, and then go ahead and start with your makeup. So I did not do any of those steps when I first tried this. So we're gonna do all of the steps this time. So I'm just gliding this across, and I think this is enough. You can see it's like almost up to that line. So again, we're gonna take it off and warm it up with our fingers and then press into the skin. Pressing it in upward motions, just making sure that I'm getting it all on my face. And just to make sure that I've got it covered everywhere, I'm just gonna go with some light upward strokes just to make sure that's, you know, like all spread out. I didn't miss anything. So I'm going to give the primer like 20-30 seconds to sort of sink in, but I do feel like overall it makes my skin look really smooth, like a nice even base to work with. So I do like that. And I think because I was using too much before, that it wasn't giving me this effect. It was just, this is not what was happening. So I think that the key is not using too much of the product, and then also just kind of like warming it up before you put it on so that it spreads out nicely and evenly, and then we're gonna let it sit. So let's talk about the foundation while this sets in. This is a serum foundation, and of course, you know, Clinique is really great if you have any sensitive skin or skin issues because it's allergy tested and it is fragrance free. And this foundation is infused with the power of a serum. So according to Clinique, this visibly restores skin instantly and over time with good for skin ingredients. So it's got vitamin C, salicylic acid, hyaluronic acid, and also it does provide sun protection. This is supposed to be weightless, buildable, full coverage with a second skin satin finish. Now, for me, sometimes the second skin like finishes on foundations don't always translate well because I do get a bit oily, so sometimes it can read as greasy, but I really do like weightless formulas, and I don't mind a second skin type foundation if I'm not doing a really full coverage look. So more of like an everyday type look, not full glam, because then I do feel like even though I might get a little oily, it still looks natural, if that makes sense. So let's just get into this foundation. I'm going to start with one pump, and then I'll just do one side of the face so we can kind of see how it looks versus natural skin. That is a big pump. I don't know, I just kind of feel like a lot sort of came out. So that's how one pump looks. Look at my eye through there. Hey. And I'm applying this with the Sigma F80 Kabuki Air. This is one of my absolute favorite foundation brushes. Okay, so right away, I do feel like, as with the other Clinique foundation, that it is a pretty decent color match. I don't think it's 100% spot on, but it is a good color match. I mean, I think so. And it is very lightweight and very easy to move around on the skin. Because, you know, some foundations, they just kind of like stick there. So it's harder to blend them out or sheer them out if you want to. And I don't feel like I'm having that issue with this. And the coverage is good. I keep like putting foundation in my hair, but the coverage I think is good. So I don't even know if that was half of that pump. I mean, there's still a lot of foundation on there. And I think the coverage is nice, and I do think that it does look very skin-like when you first apply it. So you can see like the areas where I just kind of naturally have a little bit more shine, or where the light just hits my face, that they're not dulled down on this side. So it's definitely not matte. If you love matte, this may not be for you, but if you're open to having some shine, then this is really nice. It achieves it really nicely. Okay, I'm gonna go in with a second layer on this same side so we can see how the coverage builds. And this time, instead of like moving it around so much, I'm really just pressing it into my skin. That's a good way to build coverage, because the more you move the product around, the more it's naturally going to shear out. So if you want to build coverage, you want to do more pressing motions than like sweeping and brushing motions. It still feels light, and I do feel like the coverage did build. It doesn't look cakey at all. So I do feel like the areas on my cheek, especially where I do have some hyperpigmentation and dark spots, like you can see here, you don't see any of that really. I mean, it almost just looks more like a natural contour over there, which I'm okay with that. Versus here, where you can tell it's just like some discoloration or, you know, darker areas. So I'm pretty impressed with this. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side of my face, and then we'll kind of see how it looks all together. Oh, and by the way, I still have a decent amount of that one pump still on my little mixing palette. So a little goes a long way for sure with this. Like, I mean, it's definitely like a one pump face type situation. So let's go ahead and do the other side and then kind of like see how everything looks. So I am really loving how these two products commingled and performed with each other. I think that by using the Silk Canvas correctly and as it should be used, it did give me that really nice smooth base, and this foundation is just laying beautifully on top. Like, I think that it doesn't really look like I have anything on, even though that was a fair amount of foundation that came out with that one pump. I think you could probably even use half a pump if you're not someone who really likes really full coverage, and you'd be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of my face so we can see how this looks, you know, once all the powders and blushes and all that are on top, and I'll have my final thoughts. So this is the final look. I'm not sure about this lash. This is only the second time I've tried this lash, and I think it's a little longer and more dramatic than my usual choices. But overall, with the products that we use, I am super impressed. I really like how this foundation like played around with my concealer, my contour, my highlight, the powders. I mean, like, you can see it really does look like skin even with everything else on top of it. And the powders also help take down some of the shine, since I prefer like more of a matte look when I'm, you know, like doing my makeup. So I'm happy with this. I definitely feel like the Tatcha Silk Canvas gave me that smooth base to start with, and it also performed well with all of the other products on top. Like, I feel like my skin just looks smooth. Like, it just looks amazing. Like, these two things together, man, you will go places. So let me know what you think about this foundation and primer. If you've tried them, if you're thinking about trying them. I hope that you enjoyed this review slash, I guess, little tutorial. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. There's a new video every single Friday, and hit that notification bell so you can be one of the very first to know when there is a new video. And I'll see you next time. Bye.